Must have a big cloud somewhere.
They must. All right, it's setting up the thing right now. Give it just 1 minute.
Are you still gonna be required to read that order, I assume, Josh?
Yes, sir. I certainly can.
Yes.
Gene Rhodes is awful quiet.
Where's Tom? Is he here?
I'm here. I just have it muted. I don't want to make too much noise.
Hey, Chris Taylor's here. Sorry about that. I wasn't paying attention like I should have been.
Jim Williams here.
Hey, Mr. Williams.
Josh, my iPhone has 501.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm ready whenever you are.
Thank you. It's December 22nd, 2020 at 5 p.m. The advertised time for the Sumner County Planning Commission. This time, have a roll call, please.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr.
Here.
Gemenden?
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Here.
Mr. Kirby?
Present.
Mr. Rhodes?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tucker?
Here.
And Mr. Williams?
I'm here.
Thank you. I declare that we have a quorum. First item is approval of the November 20th minutes. Entertain a motion to approve those minutes if you have them and approve them. I have a motion by Mr. Rhodes,
Second.
a second by Mr. Gemenden. Is there any questions? Being none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye.
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 Is there any opposed? No.
Aye.
No opposed, motion carries. The next item is approval of December agenda. Is there any, I think Josh has a change.
Yes, sir. Item number 2, retreat at Norman Farm, Phase 1, final plat, has requested a 1-month deferral. They have requested to come before the Planning Commission at the January meeting. Other than that, the meeting is, or I'm sorry, the agenda is as it was sent out to the Planning Commission.
I entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the exclusion of item 2.
So moved.
Motion by Honeycutt,
Second.
second by Rhodes. Any questions? Being none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye.
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 Opposed? No opposition. Motion carries. Public comment. Josh, is anyone logged in?
Mr. Chairman, in the agenda that we sent out, we provided notification to the public that if they wanted to provide public comment on this meeting, then they could email comments to Kathy Young or myself by noon today. I did not receive any comments prior to the meeting. Ms. Young did not receive any comments either. So we did not receive any public comments for this meeting.
Thank you. First item, Somerset Downs, Phase 7, final plat, a major represented by Reagan Smith. Staff comments?
Yes, sir. I'm going to share my screen with everybody, and then I'll ask just to make sure everybody can see what I'm seeing. Can everybody see the screen there, Sumner County Regional Planning Commission?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes, I see it.
Mr. Chairman, the first item on the agenda tonight is Somerset Downs Phase 7 final plat. What's being asked for is approval of 27 lots contained on 16.92 acres. The owner is Michael Schuler. It's located on Luxborough Drive Extended, which has been extended for this phase. This subdivision phase adjoins Long Hollow Pike. There's no direct access proposed onto Long Hollow Pike though. It's currently zoned plan unit development and was classified at the time of approval as low density residential plan unit development. The project engineer and project planner is Reagan Smith. George Welch and Jake Benson are the engineers of record on this project, and the contractor has been Southern Site Design. This is an area of the site location that you can see here. You see these two parcels that they make up the entirety of phase 7. And you can see Luxboro Drive here where it was to be extended. A little bit of background on Somerset Downs. The Planning Commission is very familiar with Somerset Downs over the last few years, but it initially came up in 2006, had the first phases that were even before that under a different developer, but phases 4, 5, and 6 began back in October 2006, got through the approval process then. For phase 7, that was brought in separately in 2017, just before I started here at the county, and received approval by the county commission to amend the plan unit development to add in this phase. A preliminary plat was brought in by the developer for phase 7 in July of 2019 under the new subdivision regulations. And they, after they got preliminary plat approval, they began infrastructure installation at that time. It's been ongoing ever since. So about a year now, they've been working on getting the infrastructure in. This is the plan unit development as it was amended in. This was an exhibit, I believe, that was provided at the time back in 2017. This just zooms in there on where the phase 7 is located. This is the final plat that's up for approval here tonight. It's been a requirement under the new regulations and something that I think has benefited the county that infrastructure be put in on these developments as they come through. When they get their preliminary approval, they get their infrastructure in, then they come back to the Planning Commission. In our subdivision regulations, that's laid out as the preferred alternative, is to get infrastructure in prior to the final plat approval. And it's something that has been enforced for a while now with the Planning Commission and seems to be paying some good dividends. Water and sewer are to be provided by the White House Utility District. Fire hydrants are depicted along the proposed extension of Luxboro Drive, and they've actually been installed at this time. They're in at the required spacing, requiring that means no lots more than 500 feet from a fire hydrant. And I think they've actually got their spacing a little closer than that. And fire protection is to be provided by the relevant volunteer fire department, which I believe is the new Shackle Island Volunteer Fire Department. As far as streets, Luxboro Drive has been extended to the south, and I've got some pictures of that here in just a few minutes that I'll show you. They've extended it about 1,350 feet, terminating in a cul-de-sac. It's going to be a public street. The county engineer and his staff have been inspecting the street as it's been installed through the phases of putting down the base and the stone and the binder coat that's on now and the curb and all that. And they've checked everything and conducted roll tests and everything like they're supposed to do to make sure it's done in accordance with county standards. And that has been done. And that information has been provided to the highway department. 50 feet of right of way with 12-foot travel lanes, so a 24-foot wide road. This meets the county's requirements that under which this plan was approved. Per the approved master development plan, sidewalks are to be constructed on one side of the road. That was approved for the entire Somerset Downs plan unit development back years ago, back in 2006. This is just to show what the road cross section looks like. You see sidewalk on one side is the option there. On-site drainage, there's 3 stormwater detention facilities that have been constructed at this time. They've been functioning as sediment basins during construction. They're depicted on the final plat. 2 of them are dry detention basins, which means they catch stormwater and release it during rain events. And one of them is a water quality bioretention facility that's meant to satisfy the state's and the county's water quality requirements. And so it captures and filters rainwater through layers of media. And so those have all been installed. They may have just a little bit of work to go on the water quality pond, but they're real close. And so that's not anything that we have any concerns about getting completed. On-site drainage, they turn in lots of calculations like we require them to do, and everything indicates that it's going to address water quantity and water quality. Somerset Downs HOA will take care of all the stormwater maintenance over the long term, but during the construction, it's been the developer's job to take care of all that stuff. Once the final plat's recorded, they'll probably be selling these lots to Creekside Homes, and Creekside Homes is going to take over as the owner of the SWIP, the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, PDEC. And so they will be the accountable party for maintenance of the ponds and that kind of thing. And so that's understood. The developer is required to enter into a stormwater maintenance and inspection agreement with the final plat. They've prepared all that, turned it into the county stormwater manager, Joe Phillips. He's reviewed it and is good to go with it. They'll be recording that just as soon as they record that final plat. And that will bind the developer and then the HOA to acquiesce to us inspecting the ponds and make sure that they're taken care of. This is just to kind of show you where these ponds are. Pond 1 is here by Long Hollow Pike. It's a big detention basin. If you drive by, you can't miss it. There's a much smaller water quality pond that takes that sheet flow, comes off of the road. There's a long drainage swale that they've installed that I'm going to show you some pictures of in a minute. It goes down here to pond 2. So we really spent a lot of time with the developer and the contractor. We had a lot of concerns about the Hollows, this is the Hollows neighborhood, who y'all heard a lot from over the years. We really wanted to make sure that they were not negatively impacted by this development to the extent possible of this phase of it. And I think overall, everybody did a real good job of making sure that that was the case. So here's the few pictures I've been talking about. This just shows you where the state of the road right now. We require this now. The road, before you start building the houses, you got to have your road in. Then before you can record that final plat, you got to have your road in. And so this is where it's at. It's got the binder coat down. They provided a bond to the highway department and an amount that's going to cover the top coat of asphalt, which will have to be put down here in the next few years once they get the houses more or less complete. And so the highway department is good to go on all that. That's just another picture of the road, as you can see here. This is detention basin number 1 by Long Hollow Pike. Here you see this red truck. They've put lots of measures in these gabion baskets here, help to slow the stormwater down and filter it and that kind of thing. This is the long swale that I was talking about. Over here is the Hollows neighborhood. What we did was we had them construct, and this is to the credit of the county engineer and the stormwater manager. We have Joe Phillips and Richard Jones. This big swale right here, this was all built up in a way to try to keep that water from going off-site onto the Hollows and to direct it where we needed it to go, which is here. This detention basin right here is where it all goes. And so this is the kind of stuff that having the county engineer and having the staff that we have now, it pays a lot of dividends because they go out and make these folks, not necessarily make them. We work with them to make sure that stuff is done like it needs to be done. And the contractor was incredibly responsive. The developer was very responsive, and the staff did a real good job of coordinating. Early on in the construction, we had some issues with some mud and stuff getting off site. Contractor went out there and cleaned driveways and took care of it and made field adjustments to make this swale deeper where we needed to, and to make adjustments to make sure that stuff wasn't happening. So we got a lot of positive comments from the adjoining property owners, the Hollows folks, where they really thanked us for really how things have changed, I guess you could say, to handle these issues now. And then you can see how the water kind of flows here. I mean, this will be a permanent feature. This will be, and it's all going to be in a drainage easement, that entire swale there. And basically that pond, it goes through a pipe here and it collects additional sediment here before it does slowly escape down toward the Hollows court, which is the natural drain. But it makes sure that it goes slowly. So a lot of this I've already said. The Hollows has had a lot of issues over the years. We work with everybody to make sure that this phase has gone as smoothly as it could, without a lot of negative impacts on the surrounding property owners. And everybody did a real good job with that. I'm real happy with the way things went. Another issue that we worked with the developer on, as the Planning Commission knows, there were previous phases to this one where a lot of stuff, the county's process was different. There wasn't a lot of staff oversight or the ability to oversee a lot of this stuff. And so there were some things with previous phases that were left in a state that I wouldn't consider complete. And I don't think the county engineer would either. And so we worked with them. One of that we've had them do a lot of improvements to fix a lot of that stuff, but there's one thing that's kind of hanging out there still, is this phase 4 and 5, this big detention basin here that follows Luxboro Drive. it eventually flows and discharges in a similar spot to where this phase does. So there's a connection in terms of the stormwater between this phase and the previous phases. So we want to make sure that we were trying to get as many of those old problems solved now with this more or less final phase of the development. And so that old pond was not necessarily built to plan years ago. There were some improvements we made them do with a diversion berm and some other things that have helped. But we never got as-built on that pond, and it got turned over to the HOA a long time ago before it was really ready to be turned over. It should still be managed by the developer now. And so we've worked with the developer to try to look into remedying some of this and to see what else needs to be done on that pond to get it in a permanent condition. And like I said, phase 7 and the old phases, they all kind of discharge eventually to the same point to some extent. So there's a connection between the earlier phases. And so we've obtained a commitment from the developer to provide a letter of credit to the county on the amount of $75,000 on this phase 4, phase 5 pond, that big pond there. And what that's going to involve, Reagan Smith's going to go out and do a field survey and shoot as-built and see if it was built to plan. If it turns out that the pond's good to go, and built to plan and nothing needs doing, then that's okay. But if it needs to, it's functioned as a sediment basin and it's just kind of sat there for years, it may need to be excavated a little bit and dug out and shaped a little before the developer goes on down the road. And so they'll get those as-built to us, and Richard, the county engineer, will make that determination on what needs to be done. I mean, we'll hold that letter of credit to make sure that it gets done. We've got all this in there as a condition of approval on this phase. And like I said, we've talked with the developer and the project engineer on that today. And I think we're all on the same page there. And this should hopefully kind of sew things up and finish up some issues that have been hanging out there for a long time, along with everything that they've done on phase 7. So really, in summary, all infrastructure has been installed to a point of substantial completion. It's been inspected by staff. Bond's been provided to the highway department for the road, including surface asphalt, whenever they need to install that. Letter of credit's been provided for 50% of the overall cost of stormwater to us in the planning and stormwater side of things here in development services. And that'll ensure maintenance of these ponds over the next several years to make, if anything fails, we can require it to be fixed or fix it. They've obtained all the signatures on the final plat except for mine, so that's good to go. We'll do another ride through just to make sure that there's nothing been missed. We have it always as a condition of approval. If there's any punch list items need to be fixed, then they'll need to take care of that. The as-builts have been approved. I don't know if I said that already, but those are good to go on phase 7. So if you guys approve this evening, I'll be able to sign it tomorrow or as soon as we get the $75,000 letter of credit that I mentioned a minute ago. But we'll hold the signature until we get that. And then once I sign it, the plat can be recorded. They can sell the lots and they can obtain building permits. And so, Mr. Chairman, we got example motions here on the screen with example conditions of approval. The first one being the punch list stuff. Just if there's anything we observe out there that needs to be fixed, any minor road issues or drainage, anything needs to be stabilized or anything, they need to take care of that. Stormwater maintenance inspection agreement has to be recorded. They've given it to us. They just have to record it with the plat. They have to maintain all their bonds and letters of credit until we say that they can release them. And then the applicant needs to provide the letter of credit in the amount of $75,000 to provide security on that previous phase pond that I mentioned. And we've set a October 31st. That's a typo. 2020. It should be 2021. Is what it should say. So basically, a little less than a year from now, we need those improvements to be completed and turned over to a permanent stormwater configuration. Other two would be to approve it without conditions or to deny it. So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I know George Welch and the developer, Brian Carroll, are in attendance here tonight and can answer questions if the Planning Commission has any.
Would any one of the representatives of the owner would like to speak or comment?
This is George Welch with Reagan Smith. I think Josh did a very thorough job. Have nothing to add, but we're certainly welcome to answer any questions if you have any.
Anyone else? Anyone have any questions from the developer or his engineer? Being none, I entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Which one? Item 1. It's the motion to approve item 1.
Item 1.
I second the motion. Billy.
Who was the person that made the motion? A little confusion.
It was Mr. Williams, I believe.
Okay, Mr. Williams made the motion. I have a second by Mr. Gremenden. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. Is there any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make a comment on that. I just want to thank Josh and his staff for all the hard work that they've put in on this development. For a long time, it was a nightmare for some of the adjoining property owners, and Josh and the staff has got in there and worked on this thing, and it's just done an amazing job of getting all these issues resolved, and I appreciate all that.
Amen. That's right.
I did want to say, that I actually got a call from one of the neighbors who I've talked to many, many times over the last year or two. And he called and I was like, well, I wonder what's wrong now. You know, it's one of those kind of deals, you know, and he said, I didn't want anything. I just wanted to call and thank you for the job that Richard and Joe have done out there. They've done a phenomenal job. And he really went on about how you guys, the planning commission, so he was talking about, and the county commission have really changed the way things get done here in Sumner County. And he wanted me to express his appreciation for that. So, and I appreciate it as well. I appreciate all the confidence you guys have given us.
Is there any other comments? Being none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Being no opposition, the motion carries. Next item.
Yes, sir. Can everybody still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, with item number 2 deferred, the next item on the agenda is Laurel Park. This is formerly the Westbrook Development, Phase 1 preliminary plat. This segment of the development consists of 34 proposed lots. There's 13.21 acres contained on this phase, owned by Tennessee Home Sites. The builder, as I understand it, is Patterson Homes, who's a firm that's active here in Middle Tennessee. They've done a lot of work in Williamson County and a few other counties around Middle Tennessee. This project is located on Long Hollow Pike. It's zoned plan unit development. It was classified at its approval as a medium density residential plan unit development. The utilities are provided by White House Utility District. The project engineer and planner representing this project is CSDG, Civil Site Design Group. This is an aerial photo of the project location. As I said, this is the Westbrook development that was approved some years ago. Kellen Lane over here, I think this subdivision over here is called the Victoria Place subdivision. This is the Cumberland Presbyterian Church here next to it. And then Beach High School is off just to the east. The street view of the site, you can see it's got some rolling topography with a natural drain flowing through the, so almost to the center, slightly off center of the site. I want to give a little background, Mr. Chairman, if I can, on this one. Like I said, it's been around for a while, kind of kicking around. And they had a lot of issues with TDEC that they had to get worked out before they could come back and get to this point. It was originally approved. The final master development plan was approved by the Planning Commission in December of 2017. That was after it had been approved for rezoning and a preliminary master development plan by the County Commission the same year. After they got those approvals, it's my understanding that there were a lot of issues that got encountered that I don't know that were totally anticipated with TDEC, as far as there's a ditch located on this site that TDEC classified as a stream harboring aquatic wildlife and that kind of thing. And it brought the project pretty much to a halt for a number of years. This eventually got resolved, I believe, earlier this year. So following TDEC approving their solution that they had offered here on this, the changes that TDEC required to be made had to be worked into the revised master development plan. So they submitted that basically under the new zoning regulations on November 6, 2020. As part of that, the request was to change the name of the project from Westbrook to Laurel Park, which is not a significant change. It's a name change. Staff reviewed it. The Planning Commission may remember an email coming out about this, or several emails coming out about this. We reviewed what was submitted in order to determine whether it was a major change, which would mean it has to go to the Planning Commission and the County Commission, or a minor change, which can be approved by staff. And so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I put them through a good bit of trouble on this one because I wasn't going to approve anything that I didn't feel comfortable approving at the staff level. We tried to the extent we possibly could to make them adhere to the letter of what the zoning regulations call for. And so once we kind of got that ironed out, they turned in a proposal that we looked at and determined it to be minor. And we issued an administrative approval on November 10th of 2020, deeming it to be minor. And the reasons why we did that is that, number one, the zoning code spells out 6 thresholds for what constitutes a major change versus a minor change. And we had to determine whether they're trying to amend a specific condition imposed by the county commission, increase density, change the access point on the road, reduce the open space, modify any development restrictions or anything. And they weren't doing any of those things. And number 6 here is really for commercial site plans. It doesn't necessarily apply to this one. So we couldn't once with what ended up being in the final proposal they sent over, couldn't find anything that we could classify as major. And so thereby, by definition, it was a minor change. So this is the previous master plan that was approved, and this is the current one. So if I just kind of toggle between the two of them, if you look at, you see the overall number of lots stayed the same, the amount of open space, I think it stayed roughly the same, may have actually been increased just a little bit. The biggest change is right down here. This right here is where the change occurred. This is where that stream I was talking about, that pond that comes down here and drains toward Long Hollow Pike. This is a natural stream, and TDEC required this area to be set aside as a conservation easement, is essentially what happened. And so that's the biggest change. And so to accommodate that, they had to shift some lots over. If you look, you'll see how they just kind of shifted a little bit and they changed. But there's nothing substantial that changed with this subdivision or with the development. And so the status of it, with it being approved administratively, the county's adopted a new set of zoning regulations, and the applicant has revised the plan to meet all those requirements. What that means is that their master plan has about twice as many pages as it did before, because we require a lot more detail. We've got a lot more landscaping detail and that kind of thing than what we had initially. And the plan was revised under the new regulations November 10th, 2020. What that means is they have a year to get a preliminary plat approved, which they're requesting approval of tonight. And they have until November of 2023 to get a final plat approved, which means they got to have all their infrastructure in to get that final plat approved. The preliminary plat, likewise, that was approved the same night 3 years ago. And we had them submit a revised preliminary plat. And in looking at it, we determined that the Planning Commission needed to review this preliminary plat tonight. The preliminary plat has different thresholds than the overall master plan because it's really a construction document. It's very detailed, and it's very it spells out exactly what is to be constructed. And so we felt like it needed to go back to the Planning Commission because it technically expired, for number one, and number two, they had made some changes in there that are called out in the subdivision regulations as a reason to amend or to get a renewal on a preliminary plat. And that one of them is that if environmental or other natural features buffers are changed, then you have to go back to the Planning Commission. And because TDEC required that conservation easement to come back in, we felt like it needed to go back to the Planning Commission. So that's why it's here before you tonight. So they turned in a brand new preliminary plat and a totally new set of construction plans, and all the required fees for that, the plan review fees. The fees on this one for this submittal totaled about $7,300, just a little less than that. And that's just for phase one. So this is the phase 1 preliminary plat. I reoriented this one so that it's north to south here. You see Long Hollow Pike. And these are the lots that are proposed for construction under this phase. This just zooms in a little bit, so you see the plat here. These are the lots that are contained on that preliminary plat. Just another plan sheet, and this is the final sheet, the northern segment of phase 1. What's proposed, the master plan indicates, and the plat does too, the construction plans, that the development's going to require the widening of Long Hollow Pike. And so that's all indicated on the construction plans and the preliminary like it needs to be. We've got it as a condition of approval that Long Hollow Pike has to be widened in accordance with those plans for phase 1. So that they're not going to be able to record the plat or sell lots until they get that done. That needs to be done and open for traffic. The internal road network will be dedicated as a public street that has to be built in accordance with the county's regulations, the subregs, as well as the Laurel Park Master Development Plan. The right-of-way is to be dedicated at 50 feet with 12-foot travel lanes, which was what was approved in the original approval by the county commission. There's also some of these lots are going to be rear loaded, and I'll show you that here in just a minute with an alley section. That was approved with the master plan, 20-foot right-of-way with a 16-foot pavement for those rear alleys. And per the approved master plan, the sidewalks are to be constructed on both sides of the street. So these are this is the road cross section for the 24-foot streets here. You see 12-foot travel lanes with sidewalks on both sides. And this is the cross section for the alleys. You see two 8-foot lanes on a 20-foot right-of-way behind the homes. This is from the construction plans, and it gets very detailed on with what they turned in on for Long Haul Pike improvements. But you see there's a left-hand turn lane that's going to need to be added, and some additional spacing. So that basically along most of the frontage, Long Haul Pike is going to have to be widened here in accordance with a traffic study that had been turned in some time ago. And this just kind of zooms in here. You'll see there'll be a right and a left turn out, and one lane in here into the subdivision. There's a greenway connection that was originally proposed with the initial approval. That has not changed in any way with what's before the planning commission tonight. That what was required was that there's a greenway that needs to be connected going back east toward Beach High School. And so the original approval, and I'll show you that wording here in a minute, allowed for a payment in lieu of for the segment, or for the developer to install it after the county acquired the right of way. So the developer is proposing to construct the greenway along the entire frontage of the project site, and to provide an in lieu of payment for, there's about 1,100 feet of this greenway that would be headed east over to Beach High School. This is allowed per the terms of the master development plan. What our regulations require is that 3 cost estimates have to be obtained, and that the amount paid is the average of the 3 plus 10%. So 110% of the average cost that's provided. And they did that. They provided us with 3 separate cost estimates from 3 separate companies. And there was an average total cost of $48,465.27 for that in lieu of payment. This is the wording from the original master plan that was approved in 2017. And this is what's in the new revised master plan. It's verbatim exactly the same. So they weren't seeking to amend anything related to this. On-site drainage, there's the construction plans and drainage calcs have been turned in. Richard Jones has reviewed them a couple times. They've gone through some significant revisions. There's 3 stormwater detention facilities depicted in phase 1. And basically that everything is designed to make sure that you don't have an increase in stormwater runoff post-construction. And so that's the goal. And during construction, they capture silt and mud on site to make sure it doesn't escape. We'll monitor that like we always do. We check it very regularly. Joe Phillips personally takes on the responsibility of inspecting these construction sites for stormwater compliance. He's the stormwater manager, and so he takes the monitoring of the development pretty seriously. And anytime they need to make adjustments, we get with the contractor and the engineer. We make sure that gets done, and we have the ability to stop work if we have to. Overall, the calculations will address water quantity and quality requirements. There'll have to be a long-term maintenance agreement. The HOA will take care of everything in the long term. The short term, the developer will take care of it. And we'll need that maintenance and inspection agreement when they come back for final plat approval, just like what Somerset Downs did a little while ago. These are the 3 ponds here that I was talking about. 2 of them are here. This is oriented kind of wrong. The north is over here. So these 2 of them are over here by Long Haul Pike. And you've got 1 up here with some common open space. That'll be a water quality and detention basin. Other amenities, there's additional amenities really with phase 2, as far as like an open fireplace and kind of a public gathering type areas. With phase 1, a lot of the green space is used for water, stormwater control and that kind of thing. But here within phase 1, they are going to have to, the post office requires them to put a mail kiosk in. And so they've got this mail kiosk here planned for phase 1C. And you can see the off-street parking that was required to help accommodate a lot of these rear-loaded lots. That'll also help to function to make sure that people can park to get their mail. Along with that, some of the things that they've turned in now that we didn't get initially some years ago, entryway amenity plans and that kind of thing. You can kind of see the look of there'll be a fence across the frontage of the property. You see these brick columns and that kind of thing. Internally, I believe it's planned to have some street lights and that kind of stuff as well. And you can see the signage is very, very close to what was originally proposed here for the Westbrook development. And you see the street lights that are proposed here. And we don't get into the kind of design review that a lot of cities get into. At Hendersonville, they would have separate meetings just about the brick and that kind of thing. We're not permitted by state law to get into that level of design review detail. But what they've turned in is adequate for the county's requirements. And they've also provided landscaping plans for the entryway as well. You see it's spelled out what needs to be planted and spacing and that kind of thing. Utilities and fire protection, the water and sewers to be provided by White House Utilities, and we've got an availability letter in our files on this one. I got an updated one the other day from White House. Fire hydrants are going to be at the required spacing. Volunteer Fire Department is right across the street. That's the New Shackle Island Volunteer Fire Department. And it was a condition back when this had come 3 years ago that the HOA will contribute an annual amount to the New Shackle Island Volunteer Fire Department. We're going to make sure that continues to be a requirement for the Laurel Park development, just like it was for Westbrook. General next steps, following approval of the preliminary plat, they have to get all their infrastructure in. The county will inspect along the way. They have to call us 24 hours in advance of any major step if they're putting pipe in or putting the road base down or anything like that. Once the infrastructure is substantially complete, they'll need to bond any remaining improvements with the road department for the roads, get us the letter of credit in the amount of 50% of the cost of the stormwater infrastructure, and get us as built so we can confirm that the bonds are where they're supposed to be and levies are where they're supposed to be and that kind of thing. Once they've done all that, just like what we saw with the other development here just a minute ago, the final plat may be recorded and the lots may be sold. Mr. Chairman, I've got example motions here on the screen, and like I normally do on preliminary plats, I've got an extensive list of example conditions of approval. And if it's all right, I'd like to go over what these are. The first one is that we're asking that it be required that the county engineer stamp his approval or provide his approval on the construction plans, and they have a pre-con meeting with us prior to them getting a land disturbance permit. That's standard. The applicant shall construct the required greenway along the frontage of the subdivision to the east and west property boundaries, as is shown on the construction plans prior to the recording of any final plat. Prior to issuance of the land disturbance permit, before they can start work, we would like to get that in lieu of payment provided to the county in the amount of $48,465.27. The applicant shall construct all depicted improvements to Long Haul Pike and have them open for traffic. That's another important thing prior to the approval of any final plat. So we don't want homes being necessarily built and people start moving in without Long Haul Pike being fixed up like it needs to be per the plans. We want them to go ahead, the landscaping plan sheets that they sent to us were included with the master plan. We want to get those same sheets added to the construction plan so they're all in one place. So that's condition E. Condition F is, like I had said earlier, all the infrastructure has to be installed to a substantial completion point prior to any final plat being approved. We need as-built drawings and a stormwater maintenance and inspection agreement prior to the final plat being recorded. And lastly, we'll need the covenants, conditions, and restrictions to be revised and resubmitted with the new subdivision name and that kind of thing on it for staff review and approval prior to any final plat being recorded for the development. And the other example motions are to approve it without any conditions or to deny it. So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation. I know we have some folks from Civil Site Design that are on the call, and the developer, I believe, Mr. Horton is on the call as well.
Thank you, Josh. Would the developer or any of his representatives like to make a comment, concur, or disagree with anything submitted?
This is Jim Harrison with CSDG. Just wanted to thank Josh and thank the staff for going through and helping us to make sure we've got all the details in hand. I would mention one thing. Phillips Builders is a primary developer in the homes as well. And Patterson, as Josh mentioned earlier, that's probably something we just didn't fill in, but just want to thank Josh and Richard and planning and engineering staff to help us make sure we've got everything squared away and proper per the HUD, and just here to answer any questions as needed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any question from the Planning Commission members?
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Tom Tucker. To eliminate a possible conflict of interest vote, I need to recuse myself from this vote.
Thank you, sir.
I do have a question, Chairman. So basically nothing changes from what the original documents that were submitted to the previous commission when it passed before, other than those few lots being moved.
Yes, sir. That is the only change of any consequence at all. Those lots being shifted, and like I said, there's a conservation easement along those roads there. Those will all be rear access lots, I believe. And so they won't impact them really in any way. But the addition of that easement is the only really substantial change.
So the overall concept of the alley parking, the alley entrances, all of that is exactly like it was before.
Yes, sir. And so okay. that was one of the things that we took a lot of pains with the developer. There was a proposal that had been submitted to dead end those alleys and not have them interconnect with the roads. We didn't accept that. We felt like that was a very significant change. And so they backed off that and basically just kept everything configured as close to like it was originally as we could possibly get it. So there's really no substantial changes that have been made as far as the overall layout of the development, other than, like I said, a little shifting here and there that had to be made to accommodate TDEC requirements.
Absolutely, no problem. Thank you.
Is there any other questions from any members?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the preliminary plat phase 1 with example 1.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Creminian. Who made the second?
I did. Second.
Is there any questions? Being none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Is there one opposition?
I think it was just late.
Was it just late? Let's try that again. All in favor of said motion, please vote by saying aye.
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 Is there any opposition? None. With that being said, motion carries. Ms. Denton, is you okay with that? Okay, thank you. The next item is about setting the meeting dates for next year. Josh?
Yes, sir. I'll tear through this as quickly as I can. As the Planning Commission knows, we try to bring the calendar to you all each year. When I started, it was one of the things that I wanted to do was to make the calendar a product of the Planning Commission and not a staff creation. I think it lends a lot more credibility to the calendar if the planning commission has adopted it by resolution. So it's not something that staff can just waive, because we do get asked a whole lot to grant exceptions and let things kind of slide by and that kind of thing. Sometimes reasonable requests, sometimes not, but we bring this to the planning commission, so it's set in stone as it can be, and to clarify that if anybody wants to deviate from it, they have to come and ask you guys for permission to do so. And so this would just make the calendar the official product of the planning commission. We have up on the screen there, this is the example calendar. I don't know if anybody had a chance to review it in the packet. If anybody has any concerns about any dates that are proposed, the only dates that are a little irregular are the ones in December, and that's to accommodate the Christmas holiday.
Josh, excuse me. Josh, I don't think it's coming up on the screen.
Yeah, it's not up.
It's not up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't share it. Hang on just one second. Can everybody see it now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry about that. And so like I said, the only holiday changes that we have is for the month of December of next year, and that's to accommodate the Christmas holiday. I think we moved all the dates just a little ahead.
Does any members have any issues, concerns about the schedule? Being none, I entertain a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Motion is made by Commissioner Rose, second by.
Second. Commending, second.
Motion been made and probably second. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No opposition. Motion carries.
Josh, can you email that to all of us? And then obviously we'll need to get that on the website as soon as we can.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We'll get it up tomorrow. We'll
Okay,
have
perfect.
put it up there.
Perfect.
Can't get it up tonight, but what you doing later on tonight, Josh?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to mention something.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to mention something if I could.
Please.
Oh, well, thanks to Josh and the staff at planning. Our Sumner County is going to get an award, local government award from GNRC, Greater Nashville Regional Council, for all the work that was done on our new zoning resolution. And I think it's a really big deal. And our thanks to Josh and all them. I don't know when in the world they do all this stuff. I really don't. He must take it home with him, or all of them do. Anyway, just wanted to mention that. And I don't know exactly, they used to have an awards banquet, but they won't have that this year. And I don't know exactly how they'll go about presenting that award, but maybe Josh can tell us more about that.
And the county commission intends to honor y'all as well. However, I think they'll probably want to wait and do it for a time and we can have a meeting in person and not do it on Zoom.
And I don't know what the plans are as far as any kind of awards. Supposedly they're supposed to reach out to the folks across Middle Tennessee who've gotten these kinds of awards and schedule some kind of an interview or something like that. But I really don't know the specifics on what all they're going to do this year. Like I said, normally they have a banquet and it's like an award ceremony, but it'll be different like everything else is this year.
Hey, Josh, did you move closer to the camera or did your head just get bigger? I'm just kidding. Congratulations, buddy.
Here we go. How about that?
Yeah, and I would like to congratulate him also. And talking with some of the members of the zoning board of appeals, they feel the same way. They just feel so blessed to help Josh and his staff and helping them each month, work through the issues that the county has. And so we're blessed. There's not a raise that comes with that, Josh. It's just a pat on the back.
No, I'm working on the raise.
Okay.
I'm working on that.
Do you think we'll finally get something good about us on Facebook?
No.
Yeah, I would be disappointed if they start saying positive things. But thank you, Josh, and your staff. Josh has a small staff, but those folks work really hard, and I hear things from the public about how nice they are. You know, they take time and explain things, and you know, it's not always a yes answer, but it's not a smart answer, and that's a big difference when you're talking to government. And I enjoy hearing those comments come from citizens. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. And I will say, I got Kathy sitting here next to me, and she's one of them that the people that work for me, sometimes I feel like they've got a lot more patience than I do. Like they have to take it on the chin every day, all day, and they do a fantastic job. And what is right now a very difficult situation. We're pretty much, Kathy and Paige that work for me are in a what you might call a big broom closet, I guess you'd say, with the refrigerator and a copy machine, dealing with the public just like they normally do. They hadn't missed a beat. I thought it was going to be chaos and anarchy, but it ended up, it's gone very smoothly, and that's to their credit.
At least they got the refrigerator.
Well, they can't open it though. That's the thing.
Josh, when you think your construction will be finished?
It's going really well. I mean, the guys, I can't say enough good things about the facilities guys that work for Anthony's office. I mean, the mayor's office, they went in there and hit the ground running, and they had the drywall up in no time. They've got it painted. It's ready to go right now. We're waiting on we got to have a company do the flooring. And so as soon as the flooring guys, which they got the quote from them today. So as soon as they can get in there and get that done, they can start moving furniture back in. I thought it was going to take 2 or 3 months, and it doesn't look like, knock on wood, it doesn't look like it's going to take that long.
Well, thank you again. With that said, entertain a motion to adjourn.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Is there
Motion to adjourn.
Merry Christmas.
Have a blessed one.
Yes, sir. And the primary up next year, not this year,
Merry Christmas.
for the Christmas party. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's go. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas, guys.